Welcome, everybody, to Week 9 of the NFL Pick'em Show on the Grueling True Sports Network. I'm your co-host, Mike Goodpaster, and right now, I would like to welcome in last week's big winner, 13-1, Brian Schmidt. How you doing, Mr. Schmidt?
Yeah, it was a good week. Considering we didn't have a lot of great games on the schedule.
Well, that's why it made it easy to go 13-1.
No, that's why you went 11-3?
No, I went 12-2.
You went 12-2, so everybody had a good week.
I know. So the fact that we all had a good week means the games were probably easy to pick, which makes it really sad to be Matt Andruscavage. His team still sucks, and he was 10-4, which was way below both of us. Help me welcome Matt Andruscavage to the show.
Oh, it's good to be back. You know, I got to enjoy my time out west, but the football game wasn't fun. And, this week was even worse. And this Thursday's got to be the most ugliest primetime game of the year. I don't even think I'm going to watch.
So if you don't watch, you're not really a 49ers fan. So everything you've preached to me over the last decade we've known of each other.
The problem is I won't be home.
What are you going to be doing? What's more important than your football team? So now your job's more important.
It's not that work is more important. It's also important.
Okay, so you're one of these people that's so messed up with this stuff that you think that maybe it's just as important as your job. All right, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
But how you doing,
Sure.
man? You haven't been on the show in what, a month and a half, 2 months? You just randomly been bouncing around as a San Francisco 49er groupie?
Pretty much.
And you got to meet Dexter Carter?
Yes. We met up for the game, and we ended up even doing a little bit of a pregame show live at Levi's, and we got to watch the game. The 94 team got honored, so that was pretty cool to see. And then I got to watch part of the game with him, and it was a good time.
You didn't ask him for his autograph, did you?
No.
Okay, I'm just making sure, because then you officially can't be friends. All right. Let's talk. We had a lot of action today, a lot of trades. Of course, the Cincinnati Bengals did nothing because that's what they do. Who do you think was the biggest winner, Brian, of the last week of trades in the NFL?
The biggest trade that actually, I guess it happened today, I guess was the one that just kind of jumped out at me was, Dante Fowler Jr. going to the Rams. I mean, how much the joke was, on a scale of 100, their defensive line is now like 105 in Madden. I mean, it's unbelievable that, and really they got that for, what was a 2019 third round pick and a 2020 fifth round pick. I mean, that's not bad. It's not a bad trade.
Yeah, but I think the question with Dante Fowler is, I think he's really inconsistent, and I don't think he's ever lived up to that draft pick either. So maybe in the long run, this will be better for the Jaguars to cut him loose.
Yeah, but, we've seen many times you put a player like that in a different environment, and they excel. And I also thought that, Demaryius Thomas to the Texans, I thought was also really good trade as well.
Well, and we'll go ahead and keep Brian on since we're going to talk about Le'Veon Bell. And as a Bengals fan, that's my favorite part of this whole day was the fact that Le'Veon Bell wouldn't sign a contract. And after James Conner runs for like 3 million yards against the Cleveland Browns, I still think in the end that I don't think necessarily the Steelers have righted anything because they beat the Bengals and the Browns. So I'm not going to act like all of a sudden everything's all right. But I think right now, in the next 3 or 4 weeks, if you add Le'Veon Bell to that could go really wrong.
Yeah, and I said this the other day, Sunday. I've got that NFL deal with being able to watch the game film. And the one thing that has jumped out at me is if you can, and again, now you can get real technical and say, hey, the offensive coordinator was different, but if you watch the offense with Le'Veon Bell and you watch the offense without Le'Veon Bell, the offense without Le'Veon Bell flows better. They're involving everybody. It just feels and flows a lot better.
Wait a second, though. Do you think that's because of no Le'Veon Bell, or do you think it's because Todd Haley's no longer there?
That's why, you could probably half one, half the other.
But my thing is this, though, Brian. I don't see how your offense, if everybody is getting along, I don't see how the offense could be better with James Conner over Le'Veon Bell.
Well, when you're trying to force a guy to the football all the time, which is what they were doing, and now they distribute, everybody gets involved, it's just a different-looking offense. When you watch them, it's just very different. And, the jury's still going to be out. Is it better? We'll know as we go. But, right now, I feel like they're having him not in the locker room is helping them a heck of a lot more than having him there.
Yeah, I think in the end that's true. I was just asking questions about it. Because, Bell is the best running back in football. But is he worth the crap that you got to put up with? Because let's face it, they've had Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, and Ben Roethlisberger together for how many years and not one Super Bowl appearance. And that means there's either something wrong with the coaching or maybe a couple of those guys aren't real conducive to being on championship teams, Brian.
Well, first of all, yeah, there's something wrong with coaching. We've said that before, but it's a different offense. Just what they're doing now than what they did with him. So much with him was forcing the football to him, and now getting everybody involved, it flows a lot better. It seems like the locker room has improved. Obviously winning helps that. But we're going to find out. I like what I'm seeing. The one thing that I will say, and getting off the offense for a second, is, I hear people talking about how much better the defense is playing. Do not get fooled into that. Until they are doing well defensively against the better NFL offenses, to me, that's fool's gold right now. And I've seen too many people talking about the defense is playing better. The defense is much better than it was early in the season. Well, look at who they play.
I think this. I think they are slightly better, but if you look at it like the Bengals game, they played all right against the Bengals. But, it's just the Bengals for some reason, the Bengals won't give the ball to Joe Mixon more than 10 times a game. So you got no running game, which makes it easier to stop. But you also had the fact that with 3 minutes left, the Bengals are at 80, 85 yards away, and in 6 plays they're in the end zone. That's a problem.
Yeah, I just think it's very foolish to get too wrapped up in, the offense is better, but no, the defense is better, don't get wrapped up into that, because I've seen too many Steeler fans and just NFL people. I saw it on one of the talk shows sitting somewhere Monday, how the Steelers are improving defensively. And I just thought, man, if you jump on that bandwagon, you may get disappointed real quick, because I'm not convinced that the defense is that much better. I think getting Artie Burns off the field has helped, but I'm still not convinced that they're that much better.
All right, and Matt, instead of talking about trades, we're going to talk about a man that I think that a couple of years ago your statement was, this man will win at least 3 Super Bowls while he's in Cleveland. Hugh Jackson got fired after 3 years. He won 3 games. They fired Todd Haley. They hired Greg Williams. So I still think this proves me right all along. This team's going to get their brains beat in the rest of the year.
I said that they would win 3 Super Bowls?
Yeah. Well, they would win the 3 during the 15-year span where Garoppolo won 12.
Oh, okay. Sure. No, I think the here's the thing about the Hugh Jackson firing. Now, is he a good coach? No, probably not. But now you get rid of him, you get rid of Todd Haley. Who's going to develop Baker Mayfield?
Wait a second, though, because I think this. I don't think they had anybody there to develop Baker Mayfield because
yeah, but now it's got to be worse, right?
No, because he's better off with nobody than Todd Haley and Hugh Jackson. He's better off with my great-grandmother who's been dead for 100 years. Am I wrong here, Brian?
I think at this point a trained monkey. The trained monkey probably do a better job.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, let's face it. You could take almost anybody off the street, give them the Cleveland Browns for a few years, and they could win 3 games.
Yeah. Well, and then here's the other thing about the Dante Fowler trade. I think for the Rams, it probably works. For other teams, as I heard, there's people complaining on various social media outlets. Why didn't their team go after Dante Fowler? I don't know if for the Rams to get him for what they gave up, you can see that their window is like right now. The question becomes, does Dante Fowler even re-sign after the year? Are they just renting him for 8 games? Maybe the Rams can afford to do that because they've got the Super Bowl window right now.
Maybe they're renting him for
Other
8 games
teams,
to
I would
see if
say
he's
no.
worth keeping in the long run, too, though.
Well, can they even afford to keep him around? They're going to have to pay a lot of guys. It's going to be a very different Rams team next year. I think they're really banking on the Super Bowl, which is fine.
Yeah, but you also got this,
they're good enough.
If you sign 8 Pro Bowl defensive linemen, and next year you could keep 3 of them, you're still in good shape.
Yeah. Well, of course, and they will be in pretty good shape. There's no doubt about that. But maybe other teams would not have taken that approach. I think this is just one of those things where the Rams can afford to take this approach. But
wouldn't you love to see your team take that approach? I would love to see my team take that approach.
Yes, I would love to see my team in a situation where you've got a great quarterback on a rookie deal where you can afford to do this kind of stuff. Not every team can do that. You just can't do that all the time. But for me, the biggest trade was the Demaryius Thomas move because we were talking about it right before we started the show. Will Fuller goes down for the year. Now you're going to pair a guy like Demaryius Thomas with DeAndre Hopkins, and that could really bode well for them as they try to make a push to win this division.
All right. Is there anything else that stands out that you guys saw over this weekend, the games that were played, anything that stands out to you? Because the thing that stands out to me is the fact that I think the New Orleans Saints are the best team in the NFL right now. Am I nuts?
They could be. No, I don't think you're crazy on that completely. It's hard to really pick against the Rams, and I guess we'll find out because I think they're playing this Sunday together. But what stuck out to me was, I think we all thought Seattle was pretty dead, and all of a sudden they've won 3 in a row. They're at least a little bit more interesting. And that just goes to show how good Russell Wilson really is, kind of like Andrew Luck as well. Both those teams are. They largely just have one quarterback, and they're both playing pretty well right now. They don't have anybody else a lot around them, but they both have a great quarterback.
All right, Brian.
The Rams Packers game I thought was an interesting watch. And then really everything that kind of came out of that with the whole Ty Montgomery thing, where he was pissed off about playing time, so he disobeyed the coaches telling him to take a knee and ran it out and fumbled. So that was kind of fun drama, looking at that. And then of course,
hey, anytime the Packers can drive their fans nuts by failing miserably, me and Matt are all for it.
Oh, it's hilarious. And I thought that was interesting. I agree. I agree. I like the Saints. I don't know if they're the best team in the NFL, but I think both of those teams playing this week, I think we're going to find out a lot real fast. But there were some interesting games. The Tampa Bay Bengals game.
That was miserable.
That got interesting really fast. That was an interesting game.
Well, that's because they played the better quarterback in the fourth quarter. And I've been telling, and I was on Survive in Advance with Steve Risley and Anthony Servino, who's on the FF Faceoff. And I told them 3 weeks ago that I thought Ryan Fitzpatrick was infinitely better than Jameis Winston. And I still think that because Jameis Winston threw 2 interceptions in that Bengals game that high school quarterbacks wouldn't make that mistake.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So, I mean, for what looked like a not a great week of football in the NFL. I mean, there were some games that were better than what they could have been. So, not bad. And obviously the Bills Patriots game last night was, why can't they flex these Monday night games?
Hey, I actually enjoyed that game. I enjoyed how hard Buffalo played. I mean, those two teams hit each other last night. And in total because I flipped it on when I came home from football practice, and I'm thinking I'm going to watch this for like 2 minutes and it's going to be over. But the game was still competitive into 10 minutes left. I wasn't that turned off by it just because of the amount of violence I got to see. And you don't get to see many NFL games like that anymore.
Yeah, I didn't watch it, so I guess that was good. It just nothing exciting about watching that game for me. So glad at least there was some violence in it.
Well, it was within a touchdown, I think, with like 8 or 9 minutes left in the game, wasn't it, Matt? If I remember right.
Yeah, I mean it was like 9-6 or was it 12-6 for a little while?
It was actually a close game
for a while.
And I think it was like 18-9 or 18-6, and then Buffalo was driving, and the Patriots picked it off and ran it back, and that's what made it look. It wasn't a 19-point game if you watched it, but the Buffalo Bills offense is horrible.
Still would have rather them flexed it and give us something else, but that's just me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it wasn't terrible.
Brian, sometimes you got to think about the fans, though. And if you've got tickets and it's on a Sunday and you move it to a Monday, I mean, you could be like Matt and have to choose between your job and your team. All right. Let's go ahead and pick the Battle of the Bay. Thursday night, the Oakland Raiders will go to San Francisco to play the 49ers in what should be
awful.
An epic matchup between two of the 5 worst teams in the NFL. And Brian, before you picked this game, I was doing the NFL Power Rankings tonight, and they'll be out tomorrow on thegrittlingtruth.net. And the thing that struck me about the NFL is it's so bad now that, like, the top 16 teams, 12 of those 16 teams will be in the playoffs. From 16 to 25, you got a bunch of teams that have basically no chance. And then from 27 through 32, almost any of those teams are bad enough to claim being the worst team in the NFL.
Yeah.
Very true.
And in this game,
might be the 2 worst teams.
Could be.
I really, really want to take the 49ers. Because I'm not, the Raiders do not excite me. I'm going to take, you know what, I am. I'm going to take the 49ers because the Raiders just got 2 horrible teams, and I just hope the 49ers will do something special to win this one. But no, never mind. I'm going to take the Raiders. That's how bad this game is. I've gone back.
So do you want to pick a tie? A 0-0 tie would be worth 5 points.
Yeah,
you should do that, Mike. You would get you caught up.
I'm gonna stay with the Raiders, but that is a possibility. But I'll take the Raiders.
Well, it's too late now. So Matt Andruscavage, are you going to turn your back on your team, or are you going to blindly follow into the abyss again?
I'm going to blindly follow him into the abyss because in this game is a toss-up between 2 awful teams.
Okay.
CJ Beathard is. He's I'm not even sure he's a good backup. There's times where he looks okay, but most of the time he has not been able to make a big play in the fourth quarter yet. And that's why, I mean, they've been in games they've had instances where they really could have won, but it comes down to they needed him to make a big play, and he's been unable to do it, and it's bad. And the defense there's just too many young guys. They're just making too many mistakes, and it's ugly. I hope they can win. Well, yeah, it's not like the Raiders are any good. I hate John Gruden, so.
All right, we all hate John Gruden, I think. Man, the only thing I can't get past is they lost to the Cardinals twice. The Raiders still have Derek Carr, but I don't know if he's going to have anybody to throw the ball to. I guess he's got Jordy Nelson if he's healthy. I'm going to go with the Raiders, but I'm just going because Derek Carr is an NFL quarterback, and C.J. Beathard's not. Next up, we get the Atlanta Falcons at the Washington Redskins. The Falcons are coming off their bye week, so they're getting a few guys back. Not all of them, but a handful of them. Matt, who do you like in this one? The Redskins are 5-2. I think it's fool's gold, but in the NFC East, fool's gold could win the division.
I could not hear you. It cut out just for a second there. Who were the Redskins playing?
So you obviously didn't prepare for this show. Falcons.
Well, I don't have my list. Falcons.
Jeez.
All right. I'm going to go with the Redskins. I really don't think the Falcons are they just seem to be trending downward more and more. I don't know if Devontae Freeman's back, but I don't think it matters. I like what the Redskins are doing overall. I don't think they're, like you said, I think fool's gold is probably a good description because they're probably not going to go very far in the playoffs. But with their situation right now, and I believe they have the easiest schedule going forward of any NFC team, they could win this division. And, Alex Smith's not playing bad. They're getting production out of Adrian Peterson, which is interesting. The defense is playing a little better than kind of what we thought going in. I don't really like a lot of Atlanta right now. I think their defense is decimated. Tevin Coleman is not exactly the 100-yard rusher that maybe he was a couple of years ago. And Matt Ryan is just inconsistent. So I like the Redskins here.
All right, Brian.
I coming off the bye week, you want to think the Falcons are going to get better, get more consistent. But until that happens, I'm going to go with the Redskins just because I don't trust Atlanta. I really don't trust the Redskins, but being at home and playing a little bit better, I trust them a little more. So I'll take the Redskins, but it will not surprise me if Atlanta wins.
So you are picking Atlanta because you trust nobody. No, you're picking Washington because you trust nobody. Correct?
Yes. Correct.
All right. Yeah, the Adrian
Who do you trust,
thing,
Mike?
I don't really trust anybody, especially with this game. Because my first thought is here, I did watch the Colts go in there and beat the living hell out of the Redskins, too, earlier in the year. I don't think the Redskins are that good. But right now, the depth chart shows no Mohamed Sanu. I don't know. I just don't buy the Redskins, but the Falcons' defense is so good. I'm just going to go with the Redskins, I guess. That was a whole lot of talking about nothing, wasn't it? Next up, we get the Detroit Lions at the Minnesota Vikings. I think the Vikings are vastly overrated. The defense hasn't shown up, but I'm going to trust them more than the Vikings here, Brian. I'm taking the Vikings.
Yeah, I'll take the Vikings at home. Again, another one of these games that it would not surprise me if Detroit wins. But I'll take the Vikings at home. Just feeling like that's going to be really the only difference of why I would take it. I think if it was in Detroit, I'd probably go a different direction. But for this, I'll take the Vikings.
Matt?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I don't really. I think you're right that the Vikings are a bit overrated. I don't think this is the problem is really with the defense right now. The defense is nowhere near what they were last year. I just don't really trust them in a big spot, but I also don't think the Lions are the cream of the crop of the NFC either. They're a little bit inconsistent, so I'm going to take the Vikings here at home.
All right, next up, the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens are at 4-4 right now. The Steelers are in first place. This is a huge game, Brian. And the way the Steelers seem to have the Bengals number, it kind of seems that the Ravens have the Steelers number.
Yeah, but even with that, I'm going to take Pittsburgh. Playing a lot better. But we're going to find out a lot about this Pittsburgh team in this game. And the reason I say that is because they've struggled with the Ravens, over the last few years. Usually, I think they split last year, but they historically have struggled, especially in Baltimore. And we're going to find out if this Pittsburgh team is back to where people thought they were going to be, or if this is going to be one of those hot and cold years that we've seen from Pittsburgh in the past. But I am going to take Pittsburgh.
I'm going to take the Ravens, and not just because I despise the Pittsburgh Steelers, because let's face it, I also despise the Baltimore Ravens. But when I look at this game, the Ravens are coming off a bad loss. I think that, this is a great bounce back opportunity. The Steelers, they're coming off a bye week, correct, Brian?
Yes. No, they played Cleveland.
No, they played Cleveland.
Yeah.
Well, another bye
week. That's what I was saying. So, I'm going to go with the Ravens. I think the AFC North is going to be won by a team that shouldn't be in the playoffs. I'm just going to say that right now because not necessarily not in the playoffs, but you've got three teams that all have glaring weaknesses. Pittsburgh's pass defense is not very good, to say the least. The Ravens have no running game. The Bengals' defense is crap, plus their head coach is mildly retarded. So I'm going to go with the Ravens in this game. What do you think, Matt?
I know they've struggled there, but no, I'm kind of leaning on the side that I don't think Pittsburgh's great, but we kind of said a lot of the same stuff last year. We were kind of expecting Pittsburgh to taper off, and they ended up going to the NFC. They weren't in the championship game. They were in the divisional playoff against the Jaguars.
500 points to Blake Bortles.
Yeah, that's right. But they were a lot better than what we were saying at this time during the season. We were kind of thinking the same thing, back and forth. What are they going to be? I think Pittsburgh will end up being largely what they were last year. I think they will win the division. I think James Conner is a pretty good replacement for Le'Veon Bell. He's a good running back. Yeah, they do have defensive struggles, but I think they can do enough with this offense to win the division, maybe at like 10-6, something like that. I think they beat the Ravens here. I don't like the Ravens.
I don't think any of these three teams wins 10 games. I think the one that wins the division wins 9. Because if you look at the schedule for all three of them, it's a tough schedule. And I don't know that any of these three teams are complete enough to go on a run and beat a bunch of good teams. Like the Bengals play the Saints next week. Unless the Saints just leave it all on the line, beat the Rams, and decide not to show up in Cincinnati, the Saints are going to beat them. But the Steelers play the Saints are going to beat them. The Saints already beat the Ravens. So I don't even know what game we're talking about.
I could see them losing to the Saints, but I don't know. I don't see the Steelers really losing a lot of division games, especially if they win this game.
They don't have a lot of division games left. The only division game they'll have left is Cincinnati. That's it.
Okay, so it is only one more. Okay, I thought there was 2. But no, I don't really see them losing. Yeah. Okay, I don't know if they play New England.
This is the problem. When you look at their schedule, and it's similar to Cincinnati and Baltimore's, they play at the Ravens. They host the Panthers, which right now is going to be a tough game. They go to Jacksonville. You never know what you're getting there. At Denver. Denver's not a terrible team, and it's at Denver. But then they host the Chargers, which I think is going to be tough.
It's a good game.
You get a bye week in Oakland. Then you got to come home, and you got to play the Patriots, at the Saints, and in Cincinnati. That's not an easy schedule.
I see 3 losses there for sure. At least a real good possibility for 3 losses.
Well, when I look at it, I think right now the way they're playing, I don't think they beat the Ravens, the Panthers, the Chargers, Patriots, Saints. That's 5 losses. What's the record right now?
I think, well, the Panthers game is a huge trap game because
it's a Thursday
it's on a Thursday night, and it's on a Thursday night coming off of coming off the Ravens game.
That's
Jaguars is a win. Going to Denver they've had some success out there, so I'm not worried about that.
I'd worry about the Chargers, especially if Bosa's back.
Chargers at home is one. The Raiders, no. Patriots, they're not. Yeah, that's going to be tough. The Saints, that's definitely going to be tough. I think really, that's why I think this game is so key, because you've got to win this game. And now, obviously, you'd like to get that win against the Panthers. That helps. Now you're going to get the Jaguars, Broncos. That Chargers game is going to be a tough one. Raiders is good. Patriots, no. Saints, no. So this, if you lose this game, conceivably, 9-7, 8-8 starts looking. Well, they can't go 8-8 because of the, but 8-7-1, real. Starts looking like it could be real possible at just as much as, like Matt said, 10-6 is also very possible. That's just why this game is so important, because you've got to win your division matchups, and this is one you've got to win, because there's some games on the schedule that are going to be tough. Very easily 8-7-1 to 9 wins to 10 wins.
Yeah, and the way the NFL is today, Schmidt, hell, 2 or 3 weeks from now, going to Jacksonville could be tough again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Never know.
Absolutely.
And if you look at the Ravens' schedule, they've got the Steelers, and then they host the Bengals. They got the Raiders. So I think it's bigger for the Steelers, because I think that the Ravens need to split the Bengals-Steelers series. If they can split that, I think they'll be all right, because they play the Raiders. They go to Atlanta, which is a tough game. They go to Kansas City, but then they host the Bucs. They go to the Chargers. They host the Browns. And when I look at these schedules, I really could see, like I said, 9-7 winning this division. And the Bengals' schedule looks just like their schedules, basically. I think the Ravens may have the easier of the 3-team schedules.
Yeah, the Ravens have the easier schedule because they played the Saints earlier. Some of these tougher games that are coming for Pittsburgh and for Cincinnati, the Ravens have already done that. So now they've kind of got an easier back end where the Steelers and Bengals have a tougher back end.
Yeah, which means the Steelers and Bengals have to beat the Ravens when they play them.
Yes.
Because then it gives you a 2-game cushion on them. Next up, did everybody pick a game? That lasted forever. All right, next up, the Kansas City Chiefs at the Cleveland Browns. Does anybody want to pick the Chiefs, or does anybody want to pick the Browns?
I want to pick the Chiefs.
Okay. Schmidt, you want to go with the Browns with the new coach? All right. Next up, we got a game that's just as bad. The New York Jets at the Miami Dolphins. Maybe the worst 4-4 team in the history of the NFL, the Miami Dolphins. Who do you like here, Matt?
I don't really like anybody. I think this could really be a toss-up game. I think I could really see either. Nothing would surprise me here, but I'll just go with Miami being at home. I think they're just a little bit better than the Jets, just because the Jets have had some injury problems, and they just don't seem like they had a little bit of mojo in the early part of the season, but they just don't look nearly the same. The Dolphins, I don't think they've got a lot, and I don't really like Adam Gase, but they've got enough, I think, that can win this game. But nothing would surprise me. But I'll go Miami.
All right, I'm going to go Miami too. I don't really have a reason why. I think Dolphins.
It's a nothing game.
Well, I'm going like this tonight. If I'm in doubt, I'm going to take the team with the longer name. So the Dolphins have more letters than the Jets. So I'm going with the Dolphins, Brian.
There you go.
Oh, man. I'm going to go with the Dolphins, and I have no reason as well other than the fact that I'm not doing it because their name is longer. I just D before J. So.
Oh, so you're doing it in alphabetical order?
Yeah.
All right. Next up, this one, if you're doing this one in alphabetical order to pick it, you're going to have to think for a little bit, Brian. The Chicago Bears at the Buffalo Bills. So now Brian's sitting there going A, B, C, D, E, Bears. So I'm going to pick the Bears. What do you think, Brian?
I'm going to pick the Bears because they're the better team, and also E before I. So
yeah, I just said that.
There you go.
All right, Matt, you going with E before I or I before E?
I'm just going to go with the Bears.
Okay, so you're going with E before I. Next up, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, led by Ryan Fitzmagic, goes to Carolina to play the Panthers. I'll just start this one too because I should have to do two if I'm doing back because I was rotating who did it and I got the easy game. So this is another easy one I think. But I'm going to take the Panthers. But I think Ryan Fitzpatrick will be able to score some points and keep them somewhat in the game for a while, Brian.
Yeah, I'll take the Panthers, but if you were looking for a potential upset, if Fitzpatrick is playing and he's playing to the ability of what he can do, it would be very much a potential upset game. I'll take the Panthers, but I won't be surprised. I really won't.
I also won't be surprised if he throws 6 interceptions because it's one or the other with him. There's usually not much in between. Matt?
I feel the same way about both quarterbacks. I really want to take the Panthers here. I mean, the Buccaneers.
Well,
because I want to, but
just do it.
I could really see this being an upset. But on the other hand, I also see the Ryan Fitzpatrick that we also know and love. And that's the one that throws 5 and 6 picks. So I don't know. It's they just got to go with the home team. It's the safe pick, but I could really see Tampa Bay winning this.
All right, next up, Matt. The Los Angeles Chargers at the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks are 4-3, which shows you how good Russell Wilson is. The Chargers, when they get Bosa back, I think the Chargers are a Super Bowl contender. This all of a sudden is an interesting matchup, Matt.
Well, is Bosa coming back this week? I've been hearing rumors, but I don't know.
I don't know.
Well, that's interesting, but
they're not telling us on
I am going to go with San Diego on this. I think this is a tight game. I think Seattle all of a sudden looks a little bit better than we thought. Like we were talking about against the
Lions.
Brian,
mark that down. He picked San Diego in this game, so there's no way he can be right.
I thought we agreed that it was always going to be San Diego.
No, I
we
think
agreed on this like 2 weeks ago.
That. You just picked San Diego. There's no San Diego in the NFL. So right there, you're going to miss this pick for sure. And since this is the second time
for sure you were on board with this.
This is the second time you've
done it. I know. I thought
and
we were all going to do it.
Me and Brian decided that if it happened again, we were going to have to probably fine you 3 games. So now you're in last.
And James Harrison just got fined $50,000 by the commissioner.
For what?
So
Does he still play?
Because he always gets fined.
James Harrison?
You obviously haven't seen this. Of course. Brian knows this.
The
He's fined for everything.
How the hell can they fine him? He's not playing, is he?
That's what makes it funny, Mike.
So what did they fine him for?
For being James Harrison.
Well, it's about time somebody did. Brian?
I'm going to take the Los Angeles Chargers.
Thank you, Brian. So Brian has a chance to be right. I am going to go with the Los Angeles Chargers because I picked them to go to the Super Bowl and lose to the Saints earlier in the year, and I'm going to stick with it. Next up, the Houston Texans at the Denver Broncos. So Demaryius Thomas could just call Houston and say, hey, can I just chill here until you guys get here on Friday or Saturday? Who do you like here, Brian?
I'll take the Texans.
Okay. Matt?
Yeah, I like the
Those
Texans
are solid
too,
reasons, Brian. I can't argue with you. Matt?
I didn't figure you could.
I think the Texans are going to win this also. I think Demaryius Thomas has a big game against his old team.
All right. I think that the Texans win because their defense will shut down the Broncos' offense. Next up, the Los Angeles Rams are undefeated. The New Orleans Saints have been beaten once. And I think about 7:30 on Sunday night, there's going to be a bunch of old miserable men in Miami popping champagne bottles again. I'm taking the Saints. Am I crazy, Matt?
You're not crazy about this. The Saints definitely could win this. Where's this being played at?
I'm not telling you. If you don't know, you didn't prepare, and I can't help you. Hell, you've already
I didn't
picked
prepare.
San Diego.
I admitted
You picked
that.
a team that doesn't even exist to win a game tonight.
I did half the show in the car. Of course I didn't prepare. I need you to be prepared. You're
so
the host.
What you're telling me is this, then. You're going to pick games, and you know for like a week that we're going to do this show, but yet it's my fault because you're unprepared.
Well, not your fault, but I am following your lead from previous years.
No, you're not, because I've never been prepared.
Perfect.
Just the way it is.
So where's this game being played at? Are we really going to do this?
They're playing it on a football field. It's going to be 100 yards long. They're playing in New Orleans.
Yeah, I think the Saints. I think if the Rams are going to lose a game, it's going to be this week. So I don't think they go 16-0. So I think the Rams could very easily go 15-1, but it's going to be this week. I'll take the Saints. I think their offense is going to be able to exploit the Rams, kind of like the way the Packers are able to do it. But they'll be able to do a little bit more. And I think the Saints have a little bit better defense than Green Bay. And so Jared Goff makes a couple of mistakes. Todd Gurley they're excellent. The Rams they're a terrific team. But I remember watching the Patriots when their 16-0 season. There was like 3 games they should have lost, and they just happened to win them. I don't think the Rams are going to be like that. I think they're going to lose one game. It's going to be this week.
All righty. So your prediction is if they win this week, they're going undefeated.
Very well could. I don't see who's going to be. If the Saints can't beat them, who's going to beat them?
Maybe the mythical San Diego team can. Brian, who do you got,
Right.
the Rams or the Saints?
I'm going to take the Saints, and my reason for this is I looked back at teams that have been undefeated deep into the season, and in just a few games. But the one thing that came out is the game that teams lost when they were this deep undefeated. Usually the game before they lost was a game exactly like the Rams in Green Bay.
Yeah, that they should have lost but got away with.
That they should have lost. Yeah. They did not play well, and so add that to now you're going to New Orleans in the Dome. It's going to be a pretty good atmosphere for an NFL game. I'll take the Saints. I think the Saints are going to win this. But if the Rams do win this, there is one game on their schedule that I really think they can lose, and that's when they go to the Bears in December.
The Bears? Why?
Because if they get Chicago weather in December, if it's 50, 60 degrees in Chicago and it's sunny, yeah, they'll win that game. But if they get some Chicago weather, I don't know if they'll be able to win that.
All right. The way I would look at it is this. Chicago weather, I don't think affects this team because they've got Todd Gurley and they got a defensive line that's dominant. And the other thing is this. I think that Coach Nagy in Chicago, for some reason, does not run Jordan Howard as much as he should.
Yeah, but I also know this from living in warm weather. When it's cold and miserable and you've been in warm weather long enough, it sucks. I don't care who you are. You don't want to be there.
I don't want to be there no matter how long it is. To me, when I look at it, you got to remember they also host the Chiefs November the 19th.
That's true.
I did forget about that.
They also host the Eagles. I think the thing that is predominant here is if they get past this game, though, the games against the Chiefs and the Eagles are at home. So, yeah, the Bears, They play the Lions on the road. I don't see the Lions being able to score enough points to beat them.
No, they don't.
And then they play the 49ers at the end of the season. And even if they play like all the young sons that are 8 and under of the Rams against the 49ers, those young sons would probably shut the 49ers out. They play the Cardinals, but the Cardinals are only capable of beating the 49ers. All right, I just had to get that out of my system, but now I feel much better.
You got to do what you got to do, Mike.
I know. I just remember you
It's
predicted
therapy.
the Super Bowl this year. Next up, we've got the Green Bay Packers, Matt's favorite team because he lives in Wisconsin and he's a cheesehead, at the New England Patriots. I think the Patriots win this game because Tom Brady's better than Aaron Rodgers. There, I said it. Matt?
Yep, I agree. I think Tom Brady is better than Aaron Rodgers. I think Aaron Rodgers is a great quarterback. I just think Tom Brady's better. I think he does several things better. The Patriots have the better coach. I think there is some pandemonium in Green Bay. Now, they did trade Ty Montgomery away. They were able to get a 7th-round pick.
Well, wasn't the reason they tied
draft.
him away is because they were afraid one of their stupid fans would kill him? When they get death
they did send him. They did send him death threats. That is true.
That is so pathetic, and it's so Green Bay because they're title town.
These are the people that claim they're the best fans in football. That they're really no different than anybody else.
Actually, they may be worse because I've been to Lambeau Field, not for a game, but I have visited, and they still have don't they still have wooden bleachers for the fans to sit on?
They have metal bleachers, and they're so uncomfortable.
And I'm telling
so
you,
uncomfortable.
Why would you do that to a fan base that is so much better than everybody else's? Why would you punish them like that? Is it just because they live in Green Bay and they're used to being miserable and freezing their ass off and bundled up, which is a good thing because the time I went there, most of the women you wouldn't want to see unbundled. Brian, Packers or Patriots?
I'll take Patriots. Better team all around and better quarterback.
There you go. So now there's some little kid in Green Bay, or little kids all over Green Bay, running and screaming to their parents, "Mom, Dad, there's 3 bad men on the radio, and they said that Tom Brady's better than Aaron Rodgers." All right. Now, then the dad yells, "Boys, go pick your mom up out of the tub." Titans at the Cowboys on Monday Night Football. This is a classic matchup of teams that don't play much offense. All right. Who wants to go first? Brian, you can go first. Titans at the Cowboys.
Oh, God. I'm going to take the Titans. I have absolutely no real big reason for doing this other than the fact that I really hate the Cowboys, and I just feel like the Titans are going to win this for some strange reason.
All right. Well, I think you're nuts, like a Green Bay Packers fan that thinks Brett Favre is the top 10 quarterback of all time. I'm going to go with the Dallas Cowboys. Matt?
I am too. I think Dallas being at home, this is a toss-up game. I think both these teams are coming off a bye. So I don't know that they're both rested or they both could be rusty. I just don't really like. I really don't like either team, but I think the Dallas being at home, being able to run the ball, and I think their defensive line can get after. Is Marcus Mariota even playing? Is he healthy? I don't even know.
Matter. Does it? Don't they have Blaine Gabbert if Marcus Mariota can't go?
Good God.
I know. And Brian picked the Titans. And no, Brian, we can't change our picks.
You know the rules.
You know the rules, Brian.
I think Mariota is back for this game from what I saw. But
Brian is hoping against hope that Marcus Mariota is playing in this game now.
Yeah, I think Dallas wins, but I'm not impressed with really either team. But I think Dallas can win this game.
All right, guys. That was all the games. And the thing that stands out to me is just the shortness or lack of good football games on a Sunday. I mean, a lot of the games might be competitive between bad teams, but really, wouldn't we pick out 3 or 4 games that are good matchups?
Yeah. The Pittsburgh game, the San Diego game, the Rams game, and the Patriots game. That's
I love it when you say San Diego. But, all right. Do we have any final thoughts? Plus, by the way, I would like to just tell all the Green Bay Packer fans, I am very sorry if I offended you. But that was what I was going for. All right. Brian, any final words?
Just a public service announcement. If you get your dinghy caught in a zipper, put some Neosporin on it, it'll feel better.
But do not.
A bad week there, Brian?
Yeah. Oh, that tells me that Brian got a burner, if you know what I mean. Matt, any final comments?
Well, I don't have anything that can top Ryan's. So I readily admit that, but I'm hoping for some better football out of my team. But I'm not expecting it, and I'd like to see a couple of good matchups on Sunday, but who knows?
All right. And as for Brian and his rude, lewd comments, I would like to apologize for that. All right, guys. So we're going to wrap it up. And if you want to hear some more rude, lewd comments from Brian, the Wonder Boy Schmidt. So, yes, Brian, we're going to start using the nickname that you got in high school, Brian, the Wonder Boy Schmidt. And you can hear me and the Wonder Boy tomorrow night with Robert Drummond, who is a huge Donald Trump supporter, and we're going to be But no, we love Robert. Robert's a great guy, and I think Bobby Trump, or whatever his name is an idiot. All right, guys, so you can check us out on the CFL Weekly Pick'em Show tomorrow night at 9:30 Eastern on thegruelingtruth.net. Tomorrow night at 8 will be the Indiana Basketball Weekly Show with Colin Hartman and Steve Risley. Tomorrow at noon will be Survive in Advance with me and Steve Risley, and we will look at the college football top 10, 15, 20, 25, whatever they did. I haven't even seen it yet, but they're going to put Alabama number 1, even though Alabama plays a schedule about as hard as an Ohio Division IV school. So we're going to go ahead and wrap the show up for tonight. Remember, you can hear all of our shows on Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher, wherever you find sports podcasts, you'll find the grueling truth. So, for Brian Schmidt, the Wonder Boy, and Matt Andruscavage, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.